Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our first webinar of a three-part series. My name is Paula Sampeng, and I will be presenting on literacy students in hybrid spaces. I also have Jen with me here to moderate our question and answer time, and Marianne, the research associate of this project, to answer any questions. Don't worry about taking notes. This will all be recorded and sent out after the webinars have concluded. I want to start off by acknowledging the land that TIES operates on. So the Immigrant Education Society operates on Treaty 7, which is the Blackfoot Confederacy, the Tsuut'ina First Nation, and the Stoney Nakoda. We are also on the Northwest Métis homeland, which is Region 3. Please take a moment to acknowledge the lands that you are joining in from. What we will share over these webinars is part of a 3-year project funded by IRCC called HELLO, Hybrid Education for Literacy Learners Optimization. You see our current TIES research team on the left. You see our partners from University of Michigan and University of British Columbia on the top right. And then we also partnered with the link classes within TIES and the link classes within the Edmonton Catholic District School Board. Our research project resulted in the creation of this toolkit for hybrid teaching in adult literacy contexts. The resources presented in our webinar series can be found in the electronic toolkit, and you can access it by scanning the QR code. So I'll give you a moment to do that now if you wish. So today we will be covering who are literacy learners, developing digital literacy with lower level literacy students, moving hybrid with mid to high level literacy students once they're deemed ready, and then we'll have some time for questions and discussions. If questions arise throughout the presentation, feel free to drop them in the chat, and then we'll get to them at the end. So, who are literacy learners? It is important to understand the complexity of literacy learners' identities and stories so that you can support their education best. Usually, literacy learners are refugees with limited literacy in their first language. They have limited formal education. They are unfamiliar with classroom routines and teacher-learner dynamics. They have cognitive gaps in literacy, numeracy, print, and multimodal texts, knowledge of the world, and experience with problem-based learning. And the majority of literacy learners are women. So why hybrid, especially for this group of learners? It might be tempting to just abandon technology and go back to basics, but one, we live in a digital world. Technology is becoming more and more essential for all aspects of life. Teachers must expand their teaching methods to match the pace of the digital world. Similarly, students need digital literacy to fully integrate into society. Second, offering hybrid delivery options means more equitable ways of learning for learners with complex needs. Hybrid delivery modes can offer access to education to vulnerable students in your classroom, such as women with complex caregiving responsibilities, students with disabilities, or seniors with mobility issues. Hybrid delivery can also improve student attendance and retention and support students in developing digital literacy beyond the classroom. So there are 3 types of hybrid models. First is the blended. This is when students are required to be in person on or online on set days of the week. Then there is a high flex hybrid model, which is when students are free to learn in person or online with no restrictions, as convenient for them. And then student sustainable hybrid is when students primarily learn in person, but then have some flexibility to learn online as needed. So how do we develop digital literacy, especially with lower level literacy students? Well, first, I want you to think about the skills you may have used to log on to this webinar today. And if you're comfortable, write them in the chat. What digital skills did you use to get onto this webinar here with me today? Write them in the chat if you're comfortable. You may have navigated a keyboard. You may have used a trackpad. You may have used a mouse. You may have needed to know where to click and how to click. You may have needed to log in to an email account with a complicated password. You may have needed to find the link and click the link and know how to join a video conference platform such as WebEx. You see, these are also important skills for your students. And we understand it can be challenging and daunting because using technology for learning may be out of reach for your students. However, our recommendation and our encouragement is to still develop digital literacy in the classroom. One helpful resource that informed our research is a progression checklist developed by ECSD. That is the Edmonton Catholic School District. The checklist identifies digital skills that your students should be working on based on their skill level. The whole list is much more lengthier, but here are some examples. So at the lower levels, we have naming the basic parts of a computer and its accessories: mouse, trackpad, headphones, keyboard, screen, power button, icons, etc. And then we have finding and using common keys. So enter, backspace, shift, spacebar. And then as the list progresses, we have logging into a personal account, scrolling up and down on the web, adjusting the size of windows and apps, and adjusting the volume. Downloading an app on a smartphone, tablet, or computer, and then opening Zoom and using its functions. Functions include joining a meeting, leaving and rejoining a meeting, unmuting, muting, turning on and off video, and opening the chat. Again, this is a checklist to track progression. So it begins with easier digital skills and then progresses to more difficult digital skills that you can build towards. Some tips for introducing digital skills. As you know, as literacy teachers, you need to be patient and plan on taking it slow. It requires step-by-step and often one-on-one guidance. Be intentional in separating out every step of the activity. For example, finding the chat button, finding the space to type, typing a message, finding the backspace key, pushing send, etc. Practice and scaffold. Practicing is essential to building muscle memory. To further develop their skills and confidence, scaffold skills by applying an already learned skill to other apps or devices, or by combining multiple skills into one task. So, for example, logging into an account would require scaffolding multiple skills, combining multiple skills like the @ sign, typing the @ sign, using their mouse, and then clicking, typing a complicated password with capital letters and numbers, and then pressing enter. Provide controlled computer support. If your organization has a computer lab, have classes in the lab periodically working on targeted skills altogether, such as moving and clicking a mouse. So you would spend a class working on that targeted skill. Lastly, use technology in authentic ways. If you are already using technology to search up a definition or find a picture, model how to use that search engine to your students. Some ideas for introducing digital skills. Now, I will say, as I go through this list, you may find yourself feeling like this is out of reach if you teach lower level literacy students. However, I want you to know that the students will not be doing these alone. The objective is to increase their familiarity with these tools and show them that these tools are helpful for their learning. These activities can also be done together as a class and with much guidance. So the first one I have to suggest is voice memos and recordings. You can practice pronunciation by having students record themselves reading a text out loud, then ask them to listen back to hearing themselves speak. Or you can practice conversational English by having students send and respond to voice memos on messaging apps from peers. You can use YouTube. So introduce or review topics by watching YouTube videos. Many channels, as you probably already use, provide content for language learning. There are also some online news for ESL learners. There is Breaking News English or News in Levels. You can pick an article related to your class topic of the day and then highlight various components of the article, such as the source, the title, the author, or the pictures. Translators, online dictionaries, and photo searches. Teach students how to use these tools and strategies to look up the meanings of words and concepts. Again, model how to use a search engine. Leverage their social media and mobile skills. Practice keyboard typing and logging in by having students access an account on a computer rather than a mobile. So if they already have these mobile skills, translate them to a computer. Ask students to search and share images in your class on your WhatsApp group. And lastly, language learning apps and websites. You can help your students download apps like Duolingo so that they can practice their digital skills and learn language beyond the class time. So what about going hybrid with mid to high level literacy students? This section goes over 3 steps for moving students to hybrid spaces. The first is assessing a student's hybrid readiness, then going over the hybrid readiness checklist, and then developing a personal hybrid learning plan with them. So we'll go through each step. First, this is an assessment that you can do on your own based on how the student is in your classroom. As you can see, it assesses the student's attendance, their punctuality, their engagement, their communication, their digital skills, their devices, and their home learning space. Again, this is something that you can photocopy in our toolkit and do on your own to assess how your student might be ready for hybrid. And then at the end, if you ticked more boxes in the no or maybe columns, then your student is just not ready quite yet to move into hybrid and they need more guidance or further training to develop these skills. Once you've decided that your student is a good candidate for online remote learning, so say they passed the assessment that you've done on your own, which is the previous slide, here is a list of things to go over with your student to ensure that they have everything they need to go hybrid. So you can meet with your student to ensure that they can use their digital devices, they can access and use the video conferencing platform that you use, have the materials needed for the class, they have minimal distractions at home, know the attendance and participation expectations, and ensuring that they have knowledge of basic online privacy. The next and last step is to develop a personal hybrid learning plan. So a PHLP is a structured and individualized plan that you can set up with a student to indicate why and when they will study remotely. This also sets the expectations for your students that you have. It's also important to review this plan regularly to ensure that it fits your student's situation still and it works for them. There are 2 types of PHLPs. The first is the fixed term remote, which can be used with students who will need to go online for a fixed period of time for things like pregnancy or an injury. The continual hybrid PHLP is for situations where a student might benefit from attending remotely on pre-planned days for a predictable reason. So say they need on Tuesdays and Thursdays, they need to look after their children, or every Friday, they have a medical appointment. So we will be looking at the fixed term remote plan for time's sakes, but the continuous plan is available in our toolkit. So this is the teacher's side of the plan. I will be reading a story. It's Jawahir's scenario, and I would like you to think about how you would fill this out based on Jawahir's story. And if you have extra time, you can also think about the students in your classroom, how you might fill this plan out for them. So Jawahir is experiencing mental health issues, making it difficult for her to get up every day and come to class. You are noticing her coming to class late, not interacting with her classmates, and experiencing panic attacks. You ask if Jawahir would be more comfortable staying at home and learning online instead, while she gets some mental help. Jawahir is able to receive counseling for 6 weeks. You discuss the plan for going remote. Jawahir has sufficient digital literacy skills to be able to access and participate on Zoom. However, she easily gets distracted and has challenges around punctuality. So I'll give you about 30 seconds to just think through how you might fill this out. For Jawahir's situation, this is how we would fill it out. My student, Jawahir, will learn online for a fixed term. They will do hybrid learning because of recent mental health concerns that are affecting her in-person learning. They will attend class remotely from next Monday, April 24th, until June 6th, when her counseling sessions are finished. Yes, we have gone over the hybrid readiness checklist and the remote attendance expectations. The remote attendance expectations is something I'll review on the next slide. They will need extra help with forming good habits, with attending class on time, eliminating highly distracting things, and managing other distractions. So this side of the hybrid learning plan is for the students. It's sort of like accountability and a contract for the students so that both of you are on the same page about learning expectations. So as you see, it says the start and end date and also asks them to commit to be a good participant in class. Thank you so much for listening. That is all we have today, but a reminder that we have another webinar coming up on the resources and activities for literacy students in hybrid spaces. So this will be so much more practical with using resources in the classroom to provide hybrid delivery. If you didn't catch our toolkit in the beginning of the presentation, this is a QR code that you can scan. It's a free toolkit for literacy teachers on delivering hybrid modes of teaching. So we're going to transition to some questions and discussions. Again, please feel free to use the chat and ask us your questions. I'm going to pass things over to Jen to moderate this portion of our time together.